It's day 4 at the US Open. Me and Ben are here to give our roundup. Of course, the big news, Carlos Alcaraz going out. Go check out our initial reaction to that. Jannik Sinner marches on. Daniil Medvedev marches on. Naomi Osaka, she's undone the bow because she's heading home as well. And this is me and Ben's roundup of all the action.
Day 4 in the books, people, and what a day 4 it was. If you're in the UK, you woke up, you had the crazy news. We spoke about it as a post-match reaction. I've had a little bit more time to digest. Carlos Alcaraz is no longer in this year's US Open. That's the big news on day 4. And like you said in the intro there, we did have the other people on his side of the draw, Daniil Medvedev and Jannik Sinner, both flying through, both looking really, really good as well. We're going to be speaking about both of them on this episode, and we will be touching on Naomi Osaka as well, crashing out when it looked like things were going well for her. But we got to start somewhere, and I feel that we've still got to go into this because we only touched on it really with that video earlier, and it is Carlos Alcaraz out in the second round. JG, you've had some time to digest it. How do you feel now about it?
Exactly the same as I felt earlier. I think it's a massive shock in tennis. I didn't anticipate anything of this nature happening. I wouldn't have even had him dropping a set. That's how sure I was that Alcaraz would have won. I'm just looking at a tweet now as we're speaking, and it's sort of got my attention. And it's Sky Sports Tennis, and it is their US Open predictions before the event. I think you've got some former players. You've got Tim Henman, Navratilova, Bartoli, Robson, Feliciano Lopez, and they've got the men's and women's predictions. On the women's, most of them say Sabalenka. You've got one with Iga. And on the men's, it's all Djokovic and Alcaraz with one Zverev. No one picking Jannik Sinner. I think with everything going on, he wasn't really that picked. However, now he will be because Carlos Alcaraz has crashed out. He was the most picked player to win this US Open. Everyone thought he had a good shot of doing it. We know he did roll his ankle and he's not feeling maybe 100%. But this is mainly due to mental fatigue. And we've got We Are Tennis, and the ground is shaking in New York. Alcaraz hasn't lost before the third round of a Grand Slam event since Wimbledon 2021. And Van der Zandschulp hadn't made it beyond the second round of a Grand Slam since Wimbledon 2022. So incredible stuff. And I've got some numbers here, Ben, I sent to you earlier, which just... I think, display how much of a wild upset it is. And this is from Bastian Facken. And it is all of the events in ATP since 2009, which were at 1.01 odds. So pretty much a certainty that the player's going to win. And they ended up losing. You've got 09 Roland Garros, Soderling, Nadal. You've got 12 Wimbledon, Rosal, Nadal. 13 Wimbledon, Darcy's Nadal. A few Nadals here. 13 Wimbledon again, Stakhovsky, Federer. There was definitely something in the air in 2013. You had Andrea Seppi beating Federer at the Australian Open in 2015. Sam Querrey beating Djokovic at Wimbledon 2016. Dennis Istomin beating Djokovic in 17. And Van der Zandschulp 2024. It's been, 7 years since a big upset like this? So it's a long time. Certainly the biggest upset we've had since we've done the podcast, defeating Carlos Alcaraz.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. And I was having a look because I thought it'd be interesting to see after the fact what were the betting odds for Botic Van der Zandschulp to actually win the match. And he was, I think he was at 28-1 for a straight win. And if you wanted him to win straight sets, I saw even on one site it was 80-1 for him to win straight.
I've seen 100-1.
Really? Wow. I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it should be really that high because it's that unlikely that this was going to happen. But it did happen. And it just goes to show, it puts everything into reality, really, when you go and look at tennis matches. And the best players can still be beaten on their day. And that goes to show the sort of the level across the whole of the tour as well. We've spoken about it many times. Great players are like the top 500 in the world are all fantastic tennis players. On their day, some of them can even beat some of the top players. Some of those lower ranked players, if they play their best tennis and the top players have a bad day, they can beat them. And we've seen this is obviously not someone that lower ranked in Botic Van der Zandschulp, but it's somebody who on his day is really, really dangerous. We've seen him take sets off the like of Daniil Medvedev before at the US Open. So him performing at the US Open is not a shock, but him beating Carlos Alcaraz is. And, and especially the form he was in. Fair play to Botic, though. He didn't really even celebrate. It was one of the weirdest celebrations
He's
ever.
in shock.
Iceman just literally just walked to the net, barely even waved to the crowd, just went over, packed his bag up, another day at the office.
Yeah, simple. Beating Carlos Alcaraz in a Grand Slam in straight sets. Easy task. And what I wanted to go to next is a nice little link, really, because Jack Draper, after his match, was speaking about playing Carlos Alcaraz. And he was saying, I'm expecting a very different Carlos. He was already given a preview to that match before he knew he was playing him, which is insane. Now he's not going to be playing him, and he's one of the real winners from this situation. We spoke about Sinner and Daniil Medvedev. They're on the same half. Of course, Djokovic wouldn't have to play an Alcaraz in a final as well, but it doesn't really help Djokovic as much. But definitely does help Jack Draper, because now he's going to return Botic up in the next round rather than Carlos Alcaraz. On paper, it's a lot better, but tennis isn't played on paper. And surely, after he's just beaten Carlos Alcaraz, you've got to give Botic a chance to beat Draper.
Most definitely. If he plays the same style of tennis and with that same intensity, I think Jack Draper's really in trouble, because he had Carlos Alcaraz running around the back of the court, just playing defense, really. And Jack Draper, his defense probably isn't as good as what Carlos Alcaraz's is. So he will have to go on the attack in this match, Jack Draper. His serving will be the key to him getting the victory, I believe. And the fact he's a lefty will, I think, help him in this matchup as well. I'm still astonished by the fact Botic had this real dip in form. And I thought this tweet was good because it actually reminds me of when we were actually back in, I believe it was it Awaris, this one? And I think it was when he lost that final against Holger Rune, had those match points, I believe, in that one. And after that, his career just sort of took a bit of a nosedive, because I think it really hit him hard. I remember him on the court, angry, crying. It was just, he was devastated. That was like going to be his big coming out party, winning that tournament, and he wasn't able to do it. Maybe this is now the catalyst that we're going to see the real top-notch Botic Van der Zandschulp again. So,
it could be the return. It could be him returning to his best. We've certainly not seen it, and maybe a loss like that in a final against Rune, where he had it won, is a catalyst for his big decline, because it was a really fast decline, which led to a few months ago him talking in a press post-match interview, saying how he might retire from tennis altogether.
Terrible to be thinking that. I mean, look
where he is now. Look where he is now. So it's great. We've got Eric saying 0 Spanish players in the third round, 0 French players in the third round. What a day. Eric there, pleased about it. Don't know why he's so pleased, because he doesn't like any Spanish or French players. You've then got Van der Zandschulp, Draper, Goffin, Mahatch, Dimonor, Evans, Arnaldi, Thompson. One of them are making the semi-final at the US Open. On paper, you've got to look at it and say Draper won't get a better chance right now to make a semi-final of a Grand Slam. What an opportunity it is for Jack Draper. If he is as good as what people are making out, if he is as good as what Patrick Moritoglu was saying in our interview, and how he puts him up there as a top player like a Ben Shelton, if not better, a top 10 contender, a top 5, pushing the likes of Sinner and Alcaraz, he should be winning these. And let's see if he can rise to the occasion and do it. I personally would put a favourite out of all of these as either an Arnaldi or a Dimonor. I have really high hopes for both of them. I think Thompson has an ability to beat someone a lot better than him, and he's having a fantastic year as well. Talking about Jannik Sinner, he's had a fantastic year. He managed to win his match. I'm not going to speak about the match because it was so straightforward. In straight sets, never looked phased at all. Easy. Who did he play again?
Mickelson.
Yeah, Mickelson's nowhere near the level. And Sinner, of course, having a fantastic year. He's had a wobbly month, and people are still talking about it. He's being asked about it. He's being asked in the post-match interview, saying about Kyrgios, how are you going to deal with him speaking to you? Are they going to avoid that whole relationship altogether? Will Kyrgios not do any post-match interviews with Sinner? We know how vocal he's been on social media. Sinner is refusing to really comment. He said it is what it is. He's not worried about being interviewed by Nick Kyrgios. And what do you make of it?
I mean, it's a real tough situation. The fact that Kyrgios has been so vocal about this whole thing, and he's now part of the broadcasting team, essentially for the US Open.
Kyrgios has been whipping up a lot of talk, and he kind of wants him to be banned. So it's quite a severe thing.
I think it's a big clash, and I don't really want to see that spill out over into Kyrgios being allowed to have a microphone to pose awkward questions when they should only really be held in the press conferences. Really, I don't like the way that they dealt with Jannik Sinner's pre-tournament press conference, because I thought that was a bit underhanded, knowing the press would want some answers from Jannik Sinner. They put their little lackey in there just to ask one question, and then said no further questions about that topic, please. And then everyone piled in.
There should have been more. Yeah.
No, there were. They all piled in, and Jannik Sinner, fair play to him, he answered all the questions, which I think does show a sign of more innocence, because if you weren't prepared to answer any and you just walked out, you look more guilty then, don't you? You don't look like you're somebody who's trying to plead their innocence. So I think he's taking it all in his stride, Sinner, at the moment, and he has some reason to celebrate as well, because it is a world #1 year ending for him. Congrats, I think, are in place despite all of this negativity that's surrounding his team at the moment. They have a lot to be proud of this year.
I don't know if it's 100% official that he's got the year-end #1, but it looks pretty likely now.
I think it's pretty odds on.
We can say it's nailed on that Jannik Sinner will finish year-end #1. Congratulations to him. He's been a fantastic tennis player this year. It's a shame what happened in March. It sort of clouded a lot of the commentary. For this tournament, though, we dismissed him to win it before. We both thought Alcaraz. Now he's gone out. Medvedev's the only one standing in his way, I believe, on that half, and then it could be a final with a Djokovic. I think if Sinner is to play Djokovic in the final, I'd put all my money on Jannik Sinner. I think he will beat Novak Djokovic come a final. I'm not sure if Djokovic will even make the final, because I think his serving's been really subpar and not performing very well at all. I'll be shocked if he makes it. I have a funny feeling, though, that Sinner's not going to make it either. And as much as he is now the odds-on favourite, and a lot of people are backing him, I actually expect Daniil Medvedev to make the final and potentially win this US Open.
Not Botic Van der Zandschulp.
No. I like Daniil Medvedev's chances, and he won.
Very good.
Straight sets, or was it in 4?
Yeah, I mean, Daniil Medvedev, he went through in straight sets against Malazan.
Yeah, that's right.
He went through in 4 against Lajovic in the first round. Yeah. Faces Fabio Coboli. Flavio, I believe it is. Is it Fabio or Flavio? Flavio, I think it is.
Yep.
Yeah, Flavio Coboli in round number 3. I expect him to beat Coboli, but then he could beat Borges again. I believe he played him once before at the US Open, or it could be somebody who came back from an amazing comeback, Jakub Mensik. I mean, I don't know how he came back and managed to win. Seemed like crazy. I think it was 2 tie breaks in the final 2 sets to come through in 5. Well done to him, the youngster from the Czech Republic. But Daniil Medvedev, I don't think he'll be scared of any of those players in that little section that he's got right now. And like he said after his match against Malazan, he said, that match was like an Italian restaurant. The food was great. The aftertaste was great. But your head is... Yeah, so maybe it's going to be like that against Coboli. He's Italian in the next round. So yeah,
I do love Medvedev. I love his quotes. I think he's refreshing for tennis and always makes me laugh. Let's move on to the women's, and I'll let you choose where you go next, because it's either Rybakina or Osaka. I've got a lot to say about either. I think they're both big stories, and we'll start with Osaka if that's what you want.
Yeah, I think we've got.
Yeah, it's brutal. I think Vance sums it up. Really brutal finish for Osaka. Just tough to end like that with all of those missed chances after playing so well in the second set. That being said, I really missed watching Carolina Muchova for 10 months when she was out with her wrist injury. So great to see her back in form. And she played brilliant. She had 80% first serves in all court craft. The forehand slice defense was brilliant. A lot of variety. And Osaka couldn't really get the job done. She was speaking after the match how she's so disappointed. She takes these losses personally. She finds it hard to recover. But all in all, she's trying to keep quite upbeat and keep going. She's played more tennis. She said she's visited more countries this year. She's been to tournaments and countries for the first time. And she's in a good space, I would say. You've got to remember she had a child not too long ago, and she's not maybe reached her peak physical condition. I still believe in it. I think there's a Grand Slam left in her or two, and I'd love to see her challenge for more, maybe in 2025. Maybe this year's come a little bit too quick and too soon, but I think it was great for her to play as many events as she did, and hopefully she can climb up the rankings a bit more because I've got her inside the top 10.
Well, this is where it was sort of a battle between the both of us, this match, wasn't it? I've got Muchova in my top 10, and it didn't really look like she was going to get anywhere close to it at the start of the year. But it was based off how good she was last year. Remember, she was the finalist at Roland Garros. She even took a set off Iga in the final. She was the semi-finalist at the US Open last year, losing to Coco Gauff, the eventual winner as well. Can she go as far this year as well? That's the big question. I mean, Karolina Muchova, she's had a lot of time off. She really, I didn't expect her to be going deep in this tournament, but now after seeing her play against Osaka in that type of manner, I think she's back. I think we've got the real Karolina Muchova back again at the US Open, and I think she could have a great chance. Like, if as long as she can maintain that level, I think she has a really, really interesting outcome in this tournament, and I really hope. I mean, could she win the whole thing? Is that too preposterous?
Not really, definitely not. I think we saw with the Olympics, King Zheng winning. There's some uncertain results, and specifically US Open of all of them, we find some results you're not expecting. I mean, it was Raducanu who won not too long ago, so I don't think it's that crazy to suggest that Muchova can win it. She's been great in slams when she's been fit and has played. Any more for Osaka, or we'll go on to Rybakina?
Yeah, not a bad little section. I mean, Osaka did say this is a dramatic word, but I feel like my heart dies every time I lose. It sucks a lot. I mean, you can tell how much tennis really means to her. I hope she comes back stronger. Maybe the Australian Open will see her challenge even greater. Rybakina, though, we have to speak about her. Another withdrawal, and is the writing on the wall for this season, really, for Rybakina. I don't think it's been a particularly good year for her.
Well, she's just not played. She's been ill, injured, and not played enough. At Wimbledon, I joked in the draw preview we did together. I didn't do a draw preview for this US Open with you on the women's, unfortunately, because I was away on holiday. But if I did, obviously, it doesn't carry much weight now. I would have probably said the same thing as I said at Wimbledon. I wouldn't have had her going far at the US Open. I would have probably had her withdrawing from the event at some stage. I said it at Wimbledon. If you can check the video, I said I don't think she's going to finish the tournament, and that's the big fear with her, because I think on grass she's probably the best player in the world at the moment, up there with Sabalenka, and I think she can do some really great things on the court. Just not healthy, is she? And there's something clearly going on. She's withdrawn from 8 big events this season. That's a lot of events. Dubai, Indian Wells, Rome with illness. All of them are illness. In Berlin, it was abdominal pain. Eastbourne was just a schedule change. Olympics, bronchitis. Toronto, bronchitis. US Open, injury. Heartbreaking to see such a talented player and kind person off the court dealing with this. In so many of the most important events and moments in her career, she's been unable to fight for them. This is becoming really concerning, sending her healing energy. Something's going on. I'm not even sure if I buy into it being all injuries. We don't really know the full truth. Vance just put out a tweet. He said, I'm convinced there's so much going on behind the scenes with Jelena Rybakina that no one but herself and her team know about. She's looked unhappy, unhealthy for several months now. I feel like we'll only learn about the full details a few months from now. I couldn't have said it any better myself. You took the words out of my mouth. I was thinking it earlier on. And part of me, what makes me feel like this is because when we've seen her in the press, she's been very snappy. She's not got much time. She's been spending more time with her sister, doing social media stuff and away from tennis. I would not be surprised if she takes a break from tennis or something we don't know about comes out. Because this is, for me, not just injuries. I think there's something going on, which we can all speculate about, but let's wait until we hear it officially.
Well,
straight
I've
from
heard
the
a few
horse's mouth.
murmurings. Yeah, a few murmurings going around, like the words like long COVID or maybe vaccine injury, or those. There's a lot of things murmuring around on Twitter, and yeah, but this is what I mean.
I've not heard them then. Was that you tweeting them from your burner?
I think I was tweeting it in my dreams. No, this is what I mean, though. There's been a lot of things that have happened in the world, and people's bodies aren't quite the same as what they used to be. This is the thing. And we've seen a lot of people who tend to be getting sicker more often, to have people who are getting injured more often, and there's no reason why. And this is what the search is maybe has to go into. Maybe she doesn't even know why. Maybe her team don't know
Maybe
why.
she's not even injured. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know how real that whole thing is.
She doesn't even like tennis.
Let's wait and see. Less of the speculation. Hopefully she rests up and can get back to full fitness and playing well. If she is injured, that is. Because I think she's a fantastic tennis player and one who we need in the running. Someone who can beat Iga regularly, consistently on all the surfaces as well. And it's better tennis when she's in it for sure because she's brilliant.
Oh, most definitely. And somebody I would put in the same category as that for just like positive energy on the women's tour is Jasmine Paolini as well. I think that she's a real great addition to this new top section of the women's tier. And this stat says, this is Tennis Update, saying this may be my favorite tennis stat, saying Paolini before this year was 4 wins, 16 losses in Grand Slams, with all 4 wins being in the first round. In 2024, she's now 17-3 in Grand Slams. I mean, that's just crazy, that, isn't it? Brilliant.
I don't know what to say. I mean, she got to the final of Roland Garros and Wimbledon, didn't she? Or am I just getting mixed up? No, she's insane. She's been one of the best players. Definitely going to be in the top 10. I mean, we missed a trick there, Ben, and I think she can make the final again, maybe. She's just so good. And Bianca Andreescu, after she was beaten, was just thank. She feels she's happy to be back on the court at the US Open. Last year, she didn't know if she was ever going to do it again. But she was also saying how Paolini is just giving a lot of respect to her and saying, "Don't worry, one day I'm going to be able to beat you." Definitely a bogey player for a lot of opponents. We know she struggles Rybakina against Paolini, and for such a small girl, she beats a lot of powerful players. That's one thing I would say. She doesn't seem to get overpowered like we've seen when players play like the likes of Sabalenka or Iga. If anyone can do it, I feel she can.
Yeah, and we could be in for a treat should they both win their third round matches. Paolini playing Putintseva next. I think she can get past her. It's a tough match, but I think she can get past her. And Muchova against Potapova. We could have Muchova versus Paolini 4th round. I mean, that one would be an epic matchup. I'd definitely be down for watching that. And if one of those makes the quarterfinal, you could have them, well, maybe playing. Who else have we got in that little section? We've got Haddad Meyer in there. We got Wozniacki. Either of those two must be looking at that draw thinking, I can go deep in this. And then Iga, I think, is a potential semi-finalist. Should she make it there? Because that's not a shoe-in either. There's some people at the top side of that draw. I can just show you the draw quickly just on the screen. And she's playing Pavlyuchenkova next, who we know is in good form, played well, knocked out Cocciaretto. I still think Iga will beat her. Kruger is the real one, which is this, I wouldn't say unknown, but Aisling Kruger coming through. She beat Mila Andreeva in straight sets. Comfortable win. She's playing Samsonova next. I'm backing Kruger to beat Samsonova as well in this one. And then I'll be very interested to see if Kruger plays Iga, what's going to happen there.
I'll tell you, 1-1. I think Eagle will demolish her. You've given all this hype and anticipation, and it's going to be a match that just does not live up to it at all. That's my thoughts. But let's quickly, we'll wrap up. But before we do, yesterday we gave some outside picks, and I don't know if you can remember them. I've tried to kick mine out of my memory completely. They were terrible. We both lost as outside picks. Mine probably being worse than yours. It was shocking. We're going to do the same thing today. But before you do, one potential who you might pick is Jerry Shang. He likes to be called Jerry, I believe. And he's a Chinese tennis player. We've got Damien Kuss writing a nice tweet about it and saying after Shang, Wu and Zhang all become the first Chinese male top 100 players, Jerry has another chance to be the first Chinese into the second week of a slam. No Chinese players done it on the men's anyway. And they lost in round 3. Shang, 2024 Australian Open. Wu, 2022 US Open. Zhang, 2023 Roland Garros. 2023 US Open and 2024 Roland Garros. So he's had plenty of chances, Zhang. Shang's got a big chance now. He would be an what's the word?
Underdog?
An underdog, apologies, to win that match. Do you think he can do it? Is he your pick against Casper Ruud? Or not?
I mean, that is really tough. I mean, Casper Ruud, after the way he dealt with Monfils, I'm not sure I'm picking Shang, unfortunately. I'll bring up the other matches that we do have. This is the day 4 listing. There will be another one on the next day, so I'll show you. We got Shelton TFO, Komasana versus Fritz. We got Griekspoor versus Dimitrov, Lehechka Rublev. I've got a feeling that's where you're going. With Nakashima versus Musetti. We got Casper Ruud versus Shang, and then on the women's side, this is just today after midnight. I'll read in a sec. We got Rusa versus Badoza, Kim Win-jeng, Niemeyer, Svitolina versus Goff, Azarenka, Wang, Navarro Kostyuk, Stearns versus Vekic. So this is very good. They're getting a lot closer, these odds now, though. And then we've got...
I'll give you my one before you go through these, because I've got mine off the top of my head. You already said it is Yuri Lehechka. I think he can beat Andrei Rublev. That is my outside pick for the day.
Wow. I mean, I'm
looking yours on is popping, right?
No, I wouldn't even entertain it. I couldn't ever do that. The way I'm looking down this list, though, it's really hard to pick, to be honest. I mean, out of all of these, there's a lot of Americans. I don't know if I'm going to. I think I'm just going to go for a punt. And this one is just a punt, because I'm not sure it's going to happen. It's a very slim underdog. And I want to go Peyton Stearns to take out Donna Vekic, just because she's in the US.
I don't even know if that is an underdog, Ben, but we'll let you have it on this occasion. I want to see better ones from you in the future, but if it wins, I'll let you off. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining. That is our day 4 roundup of the US Open. We did a video breaking down everything what happened with Carlos Alcaraz earlier on today, so go check that if you want to see a more in-depth reaction to it. And join us tomorrow for more action, day 5. And you never know, another podcast as well. We're going to keep bringing them to you guys. So if you are enjoying the content, leave us a comment, hit that like button. And remember, you can also listen to all of these episodes on Spotify as well. And it does help us out if you go over there, give us a follow, 5-star review, and helps us for free for you guys to keep doing this content and podcast.
Does indeed. We'll see you tomorrow for more tennis action.